Hi YouTube, welcome back. It is I, Danielle, better known as Danielle Happy Medium in the industry. And if you're coming across this video for the first time, then why not come on over to my channel, maybe subscribe, check out the content we cover, or I cover, all things mediumship development, stories about my development, and all things spiritual from sitting the power, you name it, we've got it. So if you want to come along and join us over there on my YouTube channel, then come along. It may be just what you're looking for. For those who are the return subscribers, hi. Sorry, I never got back last Friday. Family things gone the way, unfortunately. But it is what it is. And I'm back here today on Tuesday to talk to you a little bit about trance mediumship. What is trance mediumship? How did I get into trance mediumship? And all of the things that I feel is important within the arena. So without further ado, grab your cuppa, sit back, relax, and we'll talk a little bit about trance mediumship. So what is trance mediumship? So trance mediumship is the use of an instrument that is being used by the intelligence guide loved one in order to speak directly to the individual, either within the room or within a one-to-one private setting or on a more podium like rostrum type. You don't really see this on rostrums, it's not allowed. More like within a group setting. That's probably the word I'm looking for, group setting. Question that I've been asked quite a bit this week, which is probably last week actually, which sort of made me sort of come over here and do this video, was channeling versus trance mediumship. So channeling, let's start there. Channeling is basically, here's the pen. I can read this thing and channel that energy through my awareness. Now, channeling is done through the psychoprometer or through the awareness, and I can tell you where it's been, who it belonged to, what it's sort of doing. It's memories. Channeling is channeling memories designed by an object. It has no intelligence, so it has nobody behind the back of us telling us about these things. So there isn't a loved one or there isn't a guide, which is intelligence, talking and discussing them things. That's the difference between channeling versus trance mediumship. Trance mediumship is the guide or it is the loved one giving information, evidence that can be proven as fact. So channeling and trance are two completely separate matters. And it sometimes get very confused. A lot of people get confused between the difference between trance and channeling and what is really the difference. That's basically the simplest way I can put it to you. Channeling is basically memories. You're channeling a memory of where it's been, what it's done. Ghost is another example of that. Channeling the memory of an individual, not the actual intelligence. Where trance is where we are using an intelligence in order to gain information. Now, trance is a direct speaking. There is a couple of different brackets in trance. So there is trance sitting, there is trance communication, and trance philosophy, and then there's trance healing. Also within the bracket of mental mediumship. There is another side to it, which is physical, which again sits in the bracket of mediumship, but that's a little bit more different. And I will talk about that probably further in the coming weeks to talk more about that subject. Trance or normal trance is basically the element of sitting and allowing the communicator or the guide to come forward and use the instrument. Now, I have seen this on a few different occasions, not just speaking, but movement of the instrument. So what I mean by that is the spirit world actually take a hold of the nervous system, and what they do is get the medium up and start moving the medium around. And I actually trained a student who, maybe about 2, 3 years ago, who did exactly that, and it was a very interesting and a very mind blowing thing to watch. That the actual guide was in control of the instrument, and they are in control when they're doing speaking as well. And so trance speaking and trance healing is where they have taken control of the nervous system and are now starting to move the instrument to their will. Now that's through speaking, that can be through healing and using the hands and other aspects, and then also actually getting the instrument up the medium and moving the medium round. All is perfectly normal. None is unusual in any way. They just to sort of put this straight in the context, the spirit world cannot take over your body. They cannot get inside your body. There's no room for them in there. This is all done through the mind, through the nervous system, through the altered states of awarenesses. So we use different brain waves here as well. So that's different thought-based matters to me and you. Some of them are alpha, beta, theta, delta, gamma, just depending on, those who maybe want that information. Different brain waves means different thought-based matters. And obviously different things are done in different frequencies of different matter. I love trance, I've got to be honest with you, and I'm going to tell you a story about me and my trance. So, how did you get into trance? Everybody asks me this question. How did you get into trance, Eleanor? How did you do that? Mine was by pure chance. I'd always said for many years I was never a trance medium. I was never going to do trance. Trance is not my thing. I've got any interest in them things, blah, blah, blah. Um, and I was happy. I was actually out demonstrating one night up at a local spiritualist church here in the northeast of England. And I finished doing the demo, and I was sitting talking to the president of the church, and I was like, "Oh, what you doing this weekend? Doing anything nice? Just being cordial and chatting as you do." And she went, "Oh," she says, "I'm going down to watch a medium, do trance and stuff like that, And the thing with trance and trance mediumship is it's normally an invite only, so it's not actually for the general public. It is becoming more acceptable, and I am seeing more of it out there, which is great. I love to say that. I like to say people say trance and trance speaking. And so anyway, she said, "Oh, I'm going down to this place down in Somerset at the time. Actually, it was right down at the other end of the UK for me." And so I said, "Oh," I says, "how funny." And I never normally, in them very early days, I never had weekends off. And to be honest, even now, I still work, every other Sunday, even to this day. But in the early days, I work Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. So I never really ever got like a weekend off. And it was just so happened to have this particular weekend off. And I said, "Oh, to like the lady, I would love to come. I've never ever seen it, blah, blah, blah." She went, "Well, I'll make some phone calls and I'll get back to you." So anyway, about 11 o'clock, the house phone did call, and I picked the phone up, and it was the lady at the end. Said, "Look, we're getting you in." I said, "Oh, champ, we've got to be there for 9 o'clock tomorrow morning." So I went to bed, a few hours, got up, got dressed, and drove all the way from the northeast of England down to Somerset. To which I was obviously then invited in, and I got to see some beautiful things. And I've talked to my students about this, so I think it's really helpful for you if I talk to you about it as well. What are some of the things? So one of the biggest experiences, now this is in physical mediumship, this isn't in trance speaking. This is in physical mediumship, which is where the medium is in the cabinet and ectoplasm is produced. And I'm probably going to do a video on this because I think you'll find it really interesting. So anyway, this particular medium was in this sort of physical state, and ectoplasm was being produced, and we were invited up to the cabinet. Now the cabinet is like a big sort of wooden box with the front open, with like a big black drape over the top of it. Most of this is always done in dark, but there is introductions of lights and colours, blues, reds, whites, greens. There's a reason for that. It's so that basically some mediums or the spirit world look better in said colour, which means we get a better experience or we get to see things better. It all depends, and I have seen them in different colours. White tends to be preferably the norm, but I have seen it in green and red as well. Like I say, it just depends. So I talk about this experience a lot because it was so amazing, and it just sort of blew my brains out. I've got to be honest, because I was just like in awe. I'm real honest with you. So like I say, I was watching this medium, not this time that I went down with the lady from the church. Another time I went down, and this gentleman was in the cabinet, and blah blah blah. And anyway, from the cabinet come obviously the ectoplasm, to which there was these little sort of LED lights on the floor. Maybe it's about the size of a golf ball, and there was obviously people, you could hear the spirit world moving around, and within sort of physical circles there'll be maybe wrappers on the floor, there'll be odds and ends that the spirit world can look at and touch, and also so that we know that they're there as well. So anyway, these LED light balls was on the floor, and all of a sudden, from like out the darkness, because like I said, it is dark, come this sort of hand which grabbed hold of one of these LED lights. And as the spirit world picked the light up, the ectoplasm was like, I've tried to explain this to students, so I hope you will understand what I'm saying this day. It's like, how can I explain it? It's not even like a jelly form. It's very sort of they, I mean, UK, the US and people, if you're watching this, you might not understand anything I'm saying here. But there used to be here in the UK advert years ago called the for Trebo soft mints, and it used to be a man in there called Mr. Soft, and he used to sort of blend and shift. Ectoplasm's a bit like that. It sort of bends and shifts. And anyway, as this hand picked up this ball, I become very aware it was a little girl. And as I was sort of just watching the ball, I wasn't really watching her because I couldn't see her that well at the point. But what I could see is that with the ball inside a hand was actually all see through. But I could see the nails and I could see all of them things. And anyway, as she started to draw the ball towards her, she actually put honestly it was amazing. Honestly, I've never seen anything like it. I've seen some amazing stuff in my time with spirit, but this is probably one of the one that will probably stick with me for the rest of my life. She brought the ball to her face and it lit all her face up, and I could see all of her blonde hair, and I could see like the detail in her face and everything, and I could see like her little dress and things. And honestly, I'm going to tell you now, it was one of the best experiences I ever had in my whole entire life. I mean, like I say, I've seen lots of things and I've done some amazing communications and stuff over the years, but that there just blew my mind, I've got to be honest. And it forever felt like there's lots of things throughout your development that if you're watching, and you're doing development, which I'm sure you are, there'll be moments in your development where you'll have these moments where you're just like, oh my God, like, wow. Like it just blows you like into like next week type thing, right? It's just like, oh my God, like how can that possibly be, right? And I love them moments, and this is probably one of them moments. I've had a few others, but this is probably the one that sits at the very top of them all. And it really sort of cemented my understanding of the spirit world to the floor, if I could say that. I think most of you can probably relate to this, especially in the early days. You're very much, oh well, I'm making that up, and it's all me, and I'm just making it up, and people are just agreeing with us because they're agreeing with us, and there's a lot of doubt there, But then there's moments like this that happen, and you're just like, there's just no possible way that could have happened, like none, like there's no physical to put to the magic that happened there, if you can say that. And it just sort of like, well, I wasn't making it up, and I didn't like dream it, so therefore it has to be true, like. And I think Islam to probably understand that as you come through your development, or even if you're in that development state now, there'll be moments where like it just touches your mind and your soul and your heart, and you're just like, oh my God, like it was amazing. Anyway, so that is my experience with physical. I've had a few others with physical, but that's probably one of the highlights for me. Getting back to trance mediumship, and trance does sit in this world because within trance and within the physical world, they also speak, and that's direct voice. Direct voice comes from us, and we speak it, and we give information. Where you'll probably see where mediums who are women will have a very much like a manly voice. Other times there will be women, and they'll have like this female voice, and vice versa, males with females, and such like things. Trance is a beautiful thing, and when done correctly is absolutely mind blowing, I have to be honest with you. I've done trance now on and off for about 5 years. It's not something that I do for the public. It's only ever for me, not only for my own understanding and learning, but also that I could share knowledge with others to really bring awareness in these areas. For me, trance is one of the older schools. If you just really want to check out someone, check out Helen Duncan. She was the excellent physical medium from Scotland who went on to do amazing things for physical work, not only in trance speaking, but also in trance healing, and also within the physical aspects there as well. I highly recommend. I've read a couple of that lady's books. They are phenomenal, I have to be honest. Old school mediumship at its very finest, done with all the right intent and done for spirit. She was a phenomenal lady anyway, and so check that one out if you certainly want to learn more about trance and physical work and such like things. Why am I talking about this today? Because my students have been asking me, and we've been talking about trance and talking about different things. And I think there's a very big misconception there between trance and channeling. And channeling is not the same thing as trance, and trance is not the same thing as channeling. This one's memory based, which is, just a memory. It's got no intelligence to it. Trance has intelligence to it. It can really bring forward excellent knowledge from the spirit world, and allow us to really understand more about how the spirit world works. So for me, what is trance? Trance speaking is an opportunity for spirit to inspire our minds and see things from their lens view. Their healing is exceptional, done very much by the spirit world, for the spirit world. Again, spirit cannot, fix people, but they can certainly alleviate and support illnesses and support individuals in that area. For me, trance is something that I think all mediums should try or at least experience, even if, like me, you don't do it on a professional level. It really will open up your development. It will also open up your eyes to other aspects of mediumship. And I was talking to students this week about this, and again, sort of wanting to reiterate this, and I've said this a lot throughout my channel. Mediumship is not just communications. There is the trance element, there's the philosophy, there's the healing aspect, there's the animals, there's mediumship is got multiple layers to it, and make sure that you're not just sticking with the communicational skill sets because that's what everybody else is doing, because in the world of mediumship there's all sorts of beautiful things that we could be doing for spirit. So we've talked today a little bit about trance. My little sort of experience there, well, it wasn't a little experience, it was an amazing experience. If you ever get an opportunity to go along and watch a trance medium, there's some hints and tips that I look out for. I could do a video on that if that's something you want. Let me know in the comments box. And also, enjoy trance. It's a really interesting area, and it's an opportunity to really further your development. Remember, channeling is not the same as trance, but always be mindful that everybody has a different viewpoint. So I have been Danielle, better known as Danielle The Happy Medium. It's been a pleasure to talk to you today about trance mediumship. I look forward to seeing you all on Friday. Have a great week. We'll see you all on Friday. Bye for now.